Now these component drawers were given to me by one of my good friends. He works at this amazing company that does things like trucks and buses and military vehicles, and they work with a lot of the leading car manufacturers all around the world to do all the testing. So they have some really incredible stuff at this. I'm not going to call it a factory, this test centre, where they can put entire trucks on rolling roads and elevate the temperatures or freeze them, and or run engines until they explode, and right down to doing things like testing armrests to see how many times they can go up and down before they start creaking. So I had a walk around this place the other day, and I've got to admit it was absolutely fascinating. And if you're an engineer like me, you'd probably give your left testicle to work there. I certainly would anyway. And at this amazing place, they were having a little bit of a tidy up, and apparently they had quite a big electronics section, and they had all these component drawers, and they were just emptying out all the components into skip. And so this is just a tiny part of, I think, what was thrown away. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a quick look through some of these things and see what we've got. So here's the first one. It says LEDs on it. And well, that one's empty, so no LEDs. Empty. Oh, empty. 24 volt bulbs. I don't know, do they call them MES bulbs? I'm not sure if they are MES or not. Basically they're a little bayonet fitting bulb, and they're 24 volts. So apparently these are wedge based bulbs. So there's some wedge bases anyway. Oh yeah, I think these are 24 volt bulbs as well. So these are obviously designed to fit into some kind of special I don't know, lamp assembly. I seem to think that they had something very similar to this on car dashboards many years ago. So you have a little bulb here, and when you know the instruments in your old cars and the light up dashboard, where your fuel gauges and stuff like that. I seem to think that you'd get a bulb going in your dashboard all them years ago, and you had to take more or less the entire car apart to get at the bulbs, didn't you? I guess that's a pleasure that young people don't have today, isn't it? To pull the whole dashboard out, take the steering wheel out and the seats out. It used to be an absolute palaver to change a bulb in your dashboard, but I seem to think that sometimes when you would reach up behind the dashboard and then cut your hand open and all the jagged bits of metal up there, sometimes you could just about grab hold of one of these lamp holders and take the bulb out. So bulb holders, very nice. This one says LEDs digits. Alright, okay, so what we've got here is some bar graph display LEDs. Just a row of vertical LEDs here, and yeah, the sort of thing you might see bouncing around in the 80s in a graphic equalizer or something like that. Always good for doing the little Knight Rider thing, these, for making the little LED whiz backwards and forwards. So we've also got some 7-segment displays here, and they've actually got an RS part number on as well, which looks like it's 587, could be 587917, I'm not exactly sure. You never know when you find some old piece of equipment and you need an LED display for it. Neon lamps. So again, from RS Components, we've got a square neon 250 volt green indicator. Let's try looking up the RS part number, see if it's still viable. Discontinued product. Oh well. And up next we've got this enormous stash of printed circuit board mounting fuse holders. I expect they're probably intended for a bigger fuse than this, but it seems to work. These spring-loaded contacts make contact with the fuse, and these basically solder on, these little spikes here solder onto pads on the bottom of your printed circuit board. Diodes. Oh, we do love diodes, don't we? So we have got some diodes here, and looks like we've got, from again RS Components, a photodiode of 305462, and yeah, it's lovely gold colour. Now I've never actually used a photodiode. I mean, I obviously know what they are, but I've never used one. And we've got some rather grubby, they do look quite old. These look like some form of point contact diodes. Are these the old sorts of things you used to have in your little crystal radio. Well, I say old crystal radios, when somebody of my age, when you used to make a crystal radio at home with, well, you used to use a crystal earpiece, didn't you? And you'd have a coil of wire and you'd ground one end to the radiator and you'd stick a length of wire out your bedroom window and yeah, a pair of headphones, and you could listen to the local radio stations. So I think these are point contact diodes, and I don't know if they call them point contact diodes because literally you can see inside them a little slab of I'm guessing germanium material, and they have a little well, a little contact wire touching them. So yeah, is that what you call a point contact diode? Maybe it is. I wonder if these will read on one of my component testers. Let's try that. Right, it says it's a diode. It's identified the anode and the cathode for us, and it's got a forward voltage of 0.61 volts. Test current 4.6 milliamps. I was going to say that 0.6 volts seems a little bit high for, well, it seems very high for a germanium diode, so let's just give these legs a clean up with my grubby handkerchief. Okay, voltage, forward voltage 0.33 volts, so yeah, I wasn't going mad after all. So germanium signal diodes, 0.3 volts forward. So we've got a little box of screws here, don't know if they're imperial or metric. They look a little bit like the kind of little pillars these, they unscrew. You know, the pillars that sometimes you have if you've ever made up terminal rails. I don't exactly know what they're for. But basically we've got some little pillars here, and you can screw a screw into them if you so want to. Don't know what that's for. If you know, let me know. So we've got some semiconductor mounting kits here. Well, I'm guessing that this is for something like one of those power diodes, which is chassis mounting. So you've got well, basically a big tab washer here. You've got a shake-proof washer, got 2 sheets of mylar, we've got a nut, and we've got it's like a little plastic insulator. So I guess it's showing its age a little bit because it says it's a semiconductor mounting kit and it's got a 1/4 inch 28 UNF. Well, I guess that's the nut that's come with it. Oh, these bring back many happy memories of playing around with old amplifiers as a kid. I think they call these, well, these are, again, it's another insulator, another mylar insulator, but I think these are, I always get confused, TO3 or TO3, is it TO204, something like that. I think I've got one of them actually. Again, amongst the other box of bits, they had some of these transistors, which is an MJ2501 transistor. Come on, get in, you bugger. I've just looked it up, and I think it says it's an 80 volt stroke 10 amp transistor, so that sounds as though it could be quite useful in power supplies or something like that. But you'll notice it's actually only got 3 legs on it, because actually one of the legs is actually the body. So when you're actually mounting these to the chassis of your equipment, you might not want to short out this heat sink, sorry, this leg here. It's not a leg, it's the body of the component, but you might not want to short it out to the metalwork of your piece of equipment you're building. So these insulators basically go between the body of the transistor and you know, your heat sink, and it'd all be covered in that you know, heat sink grease. And there's also some of these little top hats, which I'm guessing, I was going to say they will go through there, but they don't appear to fit. Usually you also need some, I think I call them top hats, but you normally have some little pieces of plastic, which again, when you're actually bolting these transistors down, you can't have your bolts shorting it out to the case either. So you only have a little piece of plastic like this actually. Don't know if you can focus in, but it's like a top hat shape with a hole in it. So basically you would you install your top hat, and it goes between the bolt and the case of the component, something like that. But this is obviously the wrong size because it's got a little lip on it there, and it won't go through here. So it's obviously for a different style of transistor mounting that. Oh, well, that's actually coming up as a diode network rather than a power transistor. Maybe it's just because it's got such low HFE or something, it's just struggling to analyse it. Or maybe it's got some form of protection diode built into it and it's confusing the component analyzer. So it says here it's a Magnatech MJ250-01 PMP Darlington transistor, 10 amps. 10 amps at 80 volts. Yeah, PMP transistors. I don't like PMP transistors. I think they're a bit dodgy. Evil. I tend to find things like Hackers and Roberts radios, they're full of PMP transistors. They smell of Jack Russell's Old People and Death. We're not going to bother about anti-static precautions. We're going to mount it into some polystyrene. Hey! Okay, we've got some proper men's diodes here. Is that GEQ, GEC? I'm not exactly sure. So maybe this is a diode that would have gone with that stud mounting insulator. Yeah, it looks like it fits over it. Again, I've got no idea. I don't know what this diode is. It's maybe I'm going to go maybe for some kind of thyristor. The fact that it's got quite a large stud mounting on it, and it's got a great big lead and a little one, so I wonder if this is some form of high powered thyristor. It could be. And it looks like we've got some other vintage diodes, and again another RS part number 261823. Well, unsurprisingly, we've got another discontinued product there. It just says it's a diode rectifier, an MR752. We'll probably bin them because I can't see me ever using them. But there's somebody screaming that they really need one of these diodes. They're just desperate for some piece of equipment they've got. You can't keep everything, I'm afraid. You just can't. As much as I try to keep everything, you just can't. Yep, they'll come in useful. Can't have too many switches. Switches. Zener diodes. 8.2 volt Zeners, 8.2, 8.2. Zener diode programmable. Don't know how that works. 0.8 volt Zener diode. Another programmable Zener diode. I never knew you could get programmable Zener diodes. I've got no idea how that will work. 5 volt Zeners. 15 volt Zener. Now a little while ago I bought one of these Peak Atlas Zener diode testers, and I'd never used it, so this could be the perfect opportunity, couldn't it? Well, that doesn't seem to do anything. Just say 8.2. Maybe, have you got to put it a certain way around? I thought these things were intelligent enough to figure it out. Okay, yeah, you've got to put them the right way around. So that says it's 8.4, yeah, 8.4 volts, 8.49 volts. It says it should be 8.2, but as far as I know, the Zener diodes, I think that the actual Zener voltage, does that depend slightly on temperature and the amount of current going through them? I think there's a little bit of variance, so yeah, it's not bang on the reading. It doesn't say 8.2, it says 8.4. Let's try a different one. Yeah, this is coming up as 14.1 volt, and this is a 15 volt Zener. Zener diodes aren't the kind of thing that I use very often, but when you need them, don't you? So we've got here some silicon rectifiers, and yeah, they're not kidding. We've got one here again, RS stock number 261025, silicon rectifier, and it's got a maximum V reverse, I think that's VRM, of 400 volts, and maximum forward current of 13 amps. That's a bit of a beast, isn't it? 13 amp diode. Even bigger one there. Another 13 amp diode. What's that one? And same again. Smaller body size that though, isn't it? Oh no, it's the same. And, oh, a regulator, 7805. God, that's certainly vintage and made in the US of A. And it comes with its little Mylar washer and little top hat. Lovely. Oh, we've got some more rectum fryers here. 20 amp bridge rectifier. Yep. These look slightly more modern, but again, more silicon rectifiers, up to 200 volts. Yeah, this one's a bit of a beast, 261198, made in the UK. Don't see that very often on electronic components these days, do you? Again, another bridge rectifier, but some kind of mounting for a heatsink there. Okay, so these say speed blocks on them, and well, I'm not exactly sure what these are for. Speed block cable mounting socket. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so we've got a collection of these. Well, this one is the sort of thing that you would see maybe on a computer, and it's the IDC type insulation displacement. So the clever thing about these connectors is basically they're designed to be used with a ribbon cable, and well, I guess the clever bit is that you don't actually have to make the connections individually. So the ribbon cable, you push the ribbon through that little slot there. Can you see the little slot in there? So the ribbon cable pushes through there, and it's got little grooves in it to line up the wires in the ribbon cable, and then you squeeze the two halves of the connector. So this is the bit with the connections on it. You squeeze this together, and these little gold coloured, well, again we'll call them spikes, these little gold coloured prongs, they actually stab into the ribbon cable, and they're sharp enough to cut through the insulation and make the connection. So yeah, some kind of speed connector. So we've got some more of these IDC connectors here, but this type of connector looks as though it's designed to terminate against the edge of a PCB or something. So that's a ribbon cable to edge connector, and it's made by ITT Cannon. And again, another RS part number, RS467403. So we've got a lot of big box of transistors here. TIP 2955. Don't know what they are. Obviously some kind of power transistor. Let's see what they come out of. Will it be NPN or PNP? Come on, place your bets. I've got no idea. And we've got PNP flavour. Got a HFE of 105 and a test current of 2.5 milliamp. That seems quite high for a power transistor, doesn't it? Wonder if that's some kind of Darlington, possibly. And it just says it's a PNP power transistor. 60 volts collector emitter breakdown voltage, maximum 15 amps collector current, 90 watts. So the HFE is bigger than what it's claiming on the datasheet, with a maximum switching frequency of 3 MHz in a TO218 case. Low collector current emitter saturation voltage, suitable for general purpose audio amplifiers. Okay, so we've got some more transistors. Oops. Oh, transistors, and made in Italy. Probably explains why they just ran away. Okay. And we've got 3055s. So these are an NPN transistor, and they seem to have a similar capacity to the ones we were just looking at a minute ago, the PNP ones, in that they're, what was it, 15 amps, 90 watts, up to 3 megahertz. I wonder if these are kind of the thing that you would use in a, you know, a complementary pair for a push-pull audio amplifier. Yeah, not sure. I'm afraid I'm a digital man in an analog world. So I'm just looking for something that might be a little bit more interesting. We've got lots of transistors here. Oh, look at that! Attention! Special handling precautions. BUZ10, some kind of, I'm guessing some kind of field effect transistor, some kind of MOSFET, don't know. And some more MOSFETs again from International Rectifier, IFR 531. So these look like those switch kits that you could buy back in the day. You could actually buy from RS or Farnell, probably lots of places. You could buy all these, well, the kind of pre-assembled wafers that have got various combinations of switch contacts on them, and it was kind of a kit of parts. Again, never used them, I have seen them before. So depending on what combination of switching you want, you could build your own switches with as many different poles on as you wanted. Thing of beauty. and it looks like we've got another of those self-assembly switches. And I'm afraid that it's just the kind of thing which is absolutely, totally and utterly useless until you actually need it, and then yeah, then nothing else will do. But again, don't think it's any use to me. Some more switches there. Oh, that's interesting. And we've got here thermal cutout switch. And I think it, well, I'm going to say thermal cutout, maybe it's some kind of cold sensing switch. It says minus 11 degrees on it. Have we got any freezer spray? That could be fun. So is this freezer spray? Just make sure it isn't acid or something before I spray it in my face. And it said minus 11, so let's see what happens. Well, that doesn't seem to work, does it? Maybe I'm reading it wrong. 200, 2 minus and 11. Well, I've just looked that up on RS and I'm afraid I couldn't find any details on that. So if cooling it down won't make it do anything, then maybe we need to warm it up a bit. Oh, there we go. So it does work. So it's some kind of bimetallic thermal switch. It's now very hot, so we better not touch it. That might be the sort of thing that I can use. Ow. Now this could be the sort of thing that we could put inside that GEC heater. Do you remember the one that I was playing with, and kind of like so many of my projects kind of just stalled, didn't it? Unfortunately it stalled because I still haven't managed to find any insulators, so yeah, we'll keep hold of that. Ow, ow, ow. Well, this is some kind of switch, and again it's got RS component number on it, 1.5 amps at 250 volts, but you seem to operate it by just moving this little tab over, so I don't know, I've got no idea where you would find this type of switch. If you know, let me know. And we've got some nice kind of chrome effect slide switches, again RS branded, and well, these look as though they've been salvaged out of some equipment because they've got solder on them, but yeah, they definitely have that maybe 70s or 80s feel about them. Sort of thing that you might have found in your Sanyo tape deck or something like that. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, they definitely look as though these have all been salvaged from something, because they've all got solder on the terminals. And they've got some little cute little tiny mounting screws with them as well. Actually, I could do with some little tiny metric screws, so I might just keep them on one side. 2 amps, 240 volts. Yep, that could be handy for something, couldn't it? Oh, Dill Reed relays. Okay, so these are Dill Reed relays. These are kind of things that you might find in telecoms equipment, or maybe even you know, rather high-end electrical test gear. And again it's RS branded, relay number 349383. Oh, I think I'm getting that unmistakable stench of death again. That looks very suspect. AC128. Evil. Okay, so we've got these AC128 transistors, and they've definitely got that whiff of yeah, Mirror Mints. Distinct possibility these could be germanium transistors, so let's check them out. It's a PNP bipolar transistor, and it's got a VBE of 0.26. Simon Spears and Graham Radio Cruncher were pulling my leg the other day about time that I restored some old vintage Roberts radio or a Hacker. No, it's never going to happen. Bin. Ow, 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 ow.